Carla Sands, former U.S. ambassador in the Trump administration to Denmark, of all places, right? She should probably be there now fighting this Greenland battle. And she's also the CEO of Vintage Capital and the chair of foreign policy at America First. Carla, thanks for being with us.
It's great to be with you, John.
So, Carla, we haven't talked in a while. Obviously, we got to start, even though you want to talk about Davos and some other stuff. We've got to start with this Minnesota shooting again and what the left is doing with it. And I want to get your take. I mean, you have a daughter; she's in college. You've been a ambassador to a foreign country. You've been around politics a very long time. You ran for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. What is your take on what is going on in Minnesota, Carla Sands?
Well, it's a color revolution happening in our country. It's very well funded, a lot of foreign money attempting to change the United States and dismantle the government that we have. But it's a distraction. The Trump administration needs to get on top of it and end it. I believe it's an insurrection and it needs troops, but that's just my personal opinion, and I only speak for myself. I think that we need to talk about the incredible things that are happening within the Trump administration. The fact that everyone is going to get a bigger refund in their taxes this year than they did last year, more money in their pockets. The fact that blue collar wages are the highest they've been in, I think, 50 or 60 years. They're up that much, more than any other segment of society's employees. And so the good things are happening. The average family will have thousands more dollars to spend on what they want to spend because of President Trump's policies, because he helped to pass that one big, beautiful bill that had so many benefits for every American. And then the fact that he's worked so hard to bring down the cost of gas. And we all feel that every single week when we fill our tank. So that's, John, what I'm thinking about. And President Trump and the Americans did dominate at Davos. There's no question they owned Davos this year.
Break that down for us, Carla Sands.
What, the Davos moments?
Yes.
Well, think about Secretary Scott Bessent from our Treasury Secretary, who talked about what's happening in the United States and telling the European elite who love to hate on Donald Trump because they have, most of them, Trump derangement syndrome, told them, don't get your hair on fire, wait, talk it through, let's wait, let's, sit down. And the fact that, for instance, the Prime Minister of Denmark never picked up the phone to talk to President Trump for the whole first year of his administration, and instead went around talking to the other European leaders. Oh, Trump's so terrible. You've got to help us. And he's trying to take our territory. Well, Denmark can't afford to develop or defend Greenland. President Trump looks at the world as it is, not as he wishes it was. And he looks at the United States and says, I'm going to secure our country and the Western Hemisphere. So we're now living in a new Trump doctrine era because he's getting our country and the surrounding countries safer because he's now focused on building the Golden Dome.
Carla Sands with us. Carla is the CEO of Vintage Capital. She's also the chair of the America First foreign policy at America First Policy. And she was a former U.S. ambassador in the Trump administration to the kingdom, that's what it is, of Denmark. So when you were ambassador to Denmark, did Greenland ever come up?
So when I was preparing to move to Copenhagen to serve President Trump in the first term, I was told by my briefers, even though Greenland only has, at that time, they had less than, maybe they had 55,000 people living on the world's largest island. They said, although it's a tiny piece of your portfolio, you could end up spending more than half your time on this issue because it's such a thorny issue, because the relationship between Denmark and Greenland is it's tense because the Danes really control the Greenlanders and they've oppressed them. They were very cruel to them until really they forced them to live in really primitive conditions until the U.S. military occupied Greenland during World War II. And about a quarter of the population in Greenland during that time were American servicemen and their families. And so that was the situation until we left Greenland after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And we all took that peace dividend. The only base we kept of our many bases throughout Greenland was the one up in the northwest of Greenland. And it's still there. It's called Pitifik Space Base because President Trump began Space Force. And it is helps us to warn us if there's an attack coming from a place like Russia or North Korea. And so President Trump is building this Golden Dome, and Greenland is part of it. So we need unfettered access to Greenland. And I think that President Trump and his team, J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are working through the details of what this framework is going to look like for our presence in Greenland. But I'm not sure that the Danes and the Greenlanders have really been read into what our plans are. So, and I'm not sure what it's going to look like. We'll see. I know that President Trump will make sure it's a great deal so that we don't have to go and ask on bended knee every time we need to put something in place there to Denmark and to Greenland and make concessions every time, because that's pretty much the way things work there.
Carl, let me ask you this. Carla Sands with us, America First Policies, in charge of foreign affairs there. If there was based on your experience, if there was a referendum in Greenland held tomorrow, become part of the U.S. or stay with Denmark, what do you think the people would vote on there? Where do the people of Greenland want to go in your judgment and your experience?
Well, when I would go to Greenland, the people would tell me we want independence. And a majority of them have voted to go independent. I think it's because of the bad history with Denmark and because they don't like kind of how they Bigfoot them. But I don't think that Greenland will ever be able to really be independent because there's only 57,000 of them. So there aren't enough to develop or defend Greenland. And they really are a welfare state. Denmark sends them about $600 million a year, and that's what helps to pay the bills in Greenland. And so how do I think they would vote? They want independence. They don't really want to be part of Denmark or the U.S. But when I was there, more of them, I think, would have voted to go with the U.S. and to experience the opportunities and security that we provide. But now Denmark has done such a psyop on the Greenlanders that it's like they have Stockholm syndrome. They have polluted the airwaves with so many negative comments and stories. You know, America bad is basically the message coming out of Denmark. And so they are thrilled. The Danes are thrilled that the talk of independence has stopped in Greenland, largely because of President Trump's comments about owning Greenland, the U.S. owning Greenland. So the Danes are pretty happy with where things are regarding Greenlandic independence today. But I think that it will take a while and some messaging to the Greenlanders for them to feel comfortable to become United States citizens or a territory of the U.S. And Denmark has made it impossible. They've actually passed laws in Greenland since President Trump was elected that only Denmark can propagandize the Greenlanders, and only Denmark can try to influence their election. So they've tried to put some, roadblocks between success in our relationship in Greenland has been largely they try to chalk block us. But I'm sure that President Trump knows what to do with these, these folks who are very afraid of President Trump, and so going about it not in wise ways.
So, Carla, in the part of what President Trump did at Davos is he outlined this peace commission, which is fine. Everybody wants peace, but then he invites Vladimir Putin in it. As he's inviting him, he's still dropping bombs in Kiev in the middle of winter, driving people out of their homes, no heat, people, in a very bad way there, and he's still bombing civilians. Like, how's that square?
Well, President Trump, first of all, is the peace president. He has ended more wars and achieved more ceasefires than any U.S. president I believe we've ever had. And just think that he loves life. He wants the killing to stop in between the Russians and Ukrainians, and many more Ukrainians are dying than Russians. So if we think about a president who, in my lifetime, is the most life-loving president and the most peace-loving, he hasn't started a new foreign war. He's been like surgical in taking out bad guys, whether it's Soleimani or Maduro. And it's so rewarding to see him lead this way. Whether you like President Trump or not, he is thinking about bringing peace and gathering the folks around the table. When you're sitting around a table and talking about achieving peace, I think it's less likely that you're dropping bombs on the next person to you at that table. And so I actually think, there's some that say, keep your enemies close, keep your friends closer. I actually think it's brilliant to continue that open channel. Think about this. No European leader or President Biden called Putin that entire time that Joe Biden was in the White House. They never tried to achieve a ceasefire or end the war. They just talked about it and threw money at corrupt Ukraine. That's no way to win anything. And it only happened because of the weakness of Joe Biden, that war, and his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Yes.
Carla Sands, I want to thank you for being with us. My final question, though, is on Trump's energy plan in Venezuela, getting this oil in massive numbers and then being able to refine it. Are we going to see, due to this, are we going to see oil under $50 a barrel?
Well, I don't think we can see oil under 50 because our producers have to be able to stay in business. And you actually have to make a profit in a free market society to be able to keep the doors open and the lights on. So I don't believe it will drop below 50. I don't think it should. I mean, I'm just saying, because we want everyone to flourish in the United States. We don't want to punish our producers. But we will be, once again, refining that Venezuelan oil right where we were doing it before until 2010. But I just want to draw your viewers' attention to Venezuela. That was really blocking China. 65 to 80% of that Venezuelan oil was going to China. And now with the actions in Iran and the fact that we have some muscle heading toward Iran and the people are attempting to overthrow this corrupt mullah regime, that may also reduce China's access to oil. And so by constraining them, this hopefully will put pressure on them to not only sell us the rare earths that we need for now, but also end the Ukraine-Russia war. Because if Putin doesn't have the support of the Chinese Communist Party, so much support he's getting from them, financial and munitions, if he doesn't have their support, the war will end. And because he can't do it without them at this point.
Carla Sands, I want to thank you for being with us. Former U.S. Ambassador, Trump administration to Denmark, now foreign policy chair at America First Policies. Carla, always good to have you with us. People want to follow you. People want to follow you. Where do they go?
They can follow me on Twitter X at Carla H. Sands. I'm a little bit sometimes on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm really kind of my social media rests probably in the hands of Elon Musk.
There you go, at Carla Sands. Carla, thank you. My best to your lovely daughter. I know, where is she now? Washington State? Still?
She's continuing her studies, John.
I think she's in Washington. Hopefully she bet on Seattle like I did to win that game -2.5. Thank you, Carla, for being with us.
Pleasure to be with you, John. Thank you.
Always good to hear from you.